Hey, hi, and howdy, sweet friends. My name is Courtney. If you are new here, thank you for joining me for this video. And if you're not, thanks for coming back and watching. It is time for my weekly meal prep. I do these every single week, and they always come up on Saturdays. I also do grocery hauls too if you're new, so make sure you check those out. Hit the subscribe button, stick around, all the fun things. All right, this week's meal prep was a little different because I didn't go into it with a meal plan. I just went into my kitchen and said, this is what I want to use up and this is what I'm making. So I pulled out some ground turkey to thaw and I thought, okay, I'm going to make a kind of like taco rice Dorito casserole situation, which by the way, was the winner of the week. Okay. I will list the recipe down below and I will probably be making this again because it was so good. I got my Ninja Foodie out because we're going to do some baked potatoes. I have got not 1, but 2 pounds of pepper bacon for a breakfast casserole and for the baked potatoes, just because, you know, that's what's good. And there's some butter right there in that dish. I just have it softening so I can use it later. And of course, over here on my stovetop, I have some confit garlic going. I always have that linked below if you're interested in it. It is my favorite condiment. I use it in place of like regular garlic. It has such a beautiful flavor. Anyway, let's get going. So on my stovetop, I have got a skillet and I am putting in 1 pound of ground turkey, and it's still slightly frozen in the middle, but that's okay. We're just going to kind of mash it up like this and get it all ground up and cooking. Now, ground turkey is a fantastic and budget-friendly substitute for ground beef. I use it all the time. It costs $1.98 a pound at Walmart. So if you're looking to save some money, that is like the #1 tip and trick. Now right here, I have both those pounds of bacon. I just cut them up into what will be crumbles later, and I threw them in there. I know the pan looks overcrowded. I know it looks like it's not going to work, but I promise you, it's going to take it like 20-25 minutes to cook, but we're just going to let it go and keep stirring it, and it's going to be beautiful in the end. Now that our ground turkey is done, I like to let it kind of brown and sear a little bit. It gets all the moisture cooked out and it just kind of beefs it up a little bit. So you'll see that I did get some searing on the underside of that ground turkey, and I tossed in 1 can of black beans that I did drain and rinse because I didn't want this to be super soupy. And here is our big flavor bomb. I've got this picante sauce. You can buy paste, you can buy the store brand. I'm a big fan of the Walmart brand. It's very, very budget friendly and I think it tastes fantastic. So I threw in like a cup of it. Now I use this when I'm cooking all the time. It is such an efficient way to flavor up anything that you want to have like a Mexican flair to it. So good. Also, check it out on the confit garlic. It's almost done. We're going to turn that off and just let it cool down before we package it. But I did have that going today and I just wanted to share it. And as you can see, our bacon crumbles are starting to come apart. They're starting to cook. It's going to be perfect. All right, while all of that is going on, I'm letting that meat mixture simmer just to cook some of the liquid out real quick. I've got some little grape tomatoes here, and I threw in a couple of tablespoons of oil from that confit garlic pot back there, so it's garlic oil. And we're just going to throw in this whole block of feta cheese. I love feta cheese. The rest of my family does not. If you are not a fan of feta cheese, it's more expensive, but you can go to the store and get like some of that Alouette cheese or something like that, or Boursin cheese, and put that in the middle, and it does the same thing. It just isn't feta, so it tastes a little bit better for some people. It's not like feta's kind of strong. It's got a little funk to it. So if you don't like that, you might consider those other options. Like I said, they're more expensive, but it is a rich, decadent, creamy dish, and it is so delicious. But for me, I'll just go with the feta. I threw in a little black pepper and a little bit of Italian seasoning. I'm not going to salt it because feta is super briny and salty, and I feel like there's enough garlic in the oil to flavor it. So I'm just going to bake that at 400 degrees for like 20-ish minutes until the cheese is melty and the tomatoes are done. Now, back to what we're doing with this taco meat mixture we've got going on. I put 2 cups of dry rice in a bowl, and I'm just going to mix it into the meat mixture here. I only did this in a bowl just because I wanted to make sure that the meat really incorporated with that dry rice really well before I put it in the casserole dish. You could do this all in one casserole dish and not dirty in an extra pot. I mean, it's totally up to you. I was just kind of worried I would have clumps of rice that didn't get mixed in properly, so I did it this way. But either way is fine. So I'm just going to mix this all together. Like I said, 2 cups of dry rice. I really should have rinsed it. I did not. It's not the end of the world. It still cooks fine, but rinsing rice always works out a little bit better in the end. So now I've got my casserole dish, and I'm going to spray it with some nonstick spray just because sometimes rice can stick a little bit from all the starch and stuff. And we will add that whole meat, beans, rice mixture straight on in there. And if you have ever made stick of butter rice, I've made it before on my channel. If you've seen the recipe, we are just kind of like riffing on that, okay? So I've got the rice, I've got the meat mixture in there. I took the measurements from the stick of butter rice, which actually uses like, I think it's beef consomme and French onion soup. We're not doing that. We've got tons of flavor already, so we're just going to add like beef broth. For me, that's going to be water, and it's going to be some beef bouillon because that's what I have on hand. But I think that's going to be the perfect addition to this. We don't want to over flavor things. We want it to be just so. So I just did, I think it totals up to like 22 ounces of liquid, and I did just straight beef broth. And I'm using the bouillon, which is super salty. I know you guys have not seen me salt anything. That is why, because I knew this was coming up. Plus, we have a secret ingredient that we're going to add a little bit later that's super salty, and I just didn't want the salt to be overpowering. Now, I am making sure that the liquid kind of gets mixed around in there everywhere in that casserole, because this is what's going to cook the rice. I know it looks soupy now, but it's going to cook and it's going to evaporate, and it's going to be perfect and light and fluffy. Now, stick of butter rice says you should top your rice with an entire stick of butter, which, okay, butter's great and all, tastes fantastic, but we don't need a whole stick of butter. Honestly, we don't. We just need a few little pads all across the top. This is probably little half tablespoon pads that I'm putting on there. I'm just, cutting it off with my knife. It's just little chunks. So we're only going to do like, 3, maybe 4 tablespoons max. You just place it right on top of the rice. You don't have to mix it in or anything. It's going to get mixed in later, but it's going to help kind of make this nice and light and fluffy because it does need like a little bit of some sort of fat in there. Then we're going to go ahead and top this with some foil. If you have a lid for your dish, even better. This one doesn't have a lid. So I just topped it with foil, and we're going to pop it in the oven, and we're going to cook it. I believe the cook time in total was close to an hour, so we're going to do half of it now, and then we'll pull it out in a minute and take a look at it. All right, so baked potatoes. What an easy thing to make. This is just a kind of like throwing an idea out there for you guys. I washed them. I'm throwing them in the pressure cooker for 26 minutes on high pressure, natural release. They're done. They're light. They're fluffy, and they're ready to go for the week. So keep that in mind if you're looking for something super simple to meal prep. And there is our bacon. You can see it's pretty much done at this point. All the little pieces came apart. We've got perfect bacon crumbles. I did take that out to drain in a separate pan. And now I'm going to use a little bit of that residual bacon grease. I save all my bacon grease because it is just like free liquid gold to cook in later. I'm going to take just a little bit and put it in the skillet so we can cook our next thing, which is going to be a breakfast casserole. So breakfast casserole is great for breakfast. It's also great for lunch and dinner. Keep that in mind. I've never said no to bacon any time of day. I think it's fabulous, and I think a lot of people would agree. Now, of course, just because I use bacon doesn't mean you can't use sausage or both or chorizo or whatever your jam is. I just happen to do bacon because it was easier for me today, and that's what I had on hand. I'm using some of these Simply potatoes now. You can shred your own potatoes, or you can buy like the frozen shredded potatoes. I buy Simply potatoes when they're on sale, and I throw them in my freezer and then thaw them in the microwave when I'm ready to cook them. Just a little tip, like you don't have to just only keep them in the fridge. They freeze beautifully. So totally up to you, whatever you want to do. Any kind of potato shred or cube is fine. I threw it in with some bacon grease and a little bit of salt, and I'm just going to let this cook. I like to just spread it across the bottom of the pan and leave it for 5 or 6 minutes and kind of flip them around so they develop a little bit of color. Now there is our gorgeous, gorgeous tomato feta pasta sauce. It is heavy on the feta because I love feta. I mean, you could use more tomatoes if you want to. It's totally up to you. Just kind of personalize it and make it your own. Feta is not known for being a creamy, melty cheese, but for whatever reason, in this recipe, it always works beautifully. Look at that. It just forms its own sauce with the juice of the tomatoes, the little bit of olive oil that we threw in there, and of course, the melty, delicious feta. I like to just kind of smash my tomatoes a bit so everything gets incorporated, and you can serve this over any kind of pasta you want. I happen to have some fresh pasta in my fridge that I picked up on Markdown, so I will be cooking that just one serving at a time when I'm ready to eat this, because again, this is just for me. The rest of my family is not going to eat it. I do try to do the Mediterranean diet, and this is all on the Mediterranean diet, so I will be enjoying that later in the evening. But this was perfect, and it keeps beautifully in the fridge. It reheats nicely. I just really love this dish, and it's so flavorful and so beautiful. So this is always a winner in my book. I will list the recipe for this down below in case you need it. Now our rice has been going for about 30 minutes, which is half the cook time. This is what it looks like. It's not done at all. You still see the rice is not fully cooked. There's still a lot of liquid in there, but we're going to take this opportunity to kind of fluff it up a bit, stir that butter in there, make sure everybody's fully incorporated really, really well. We're also going to take this moment to add our secret ingredient, which is really not a secret. We're going to add a topping to this, and this is what makes it like a beautiful taco rice situation. I went into this like an original Doritos casserole has a lot of cream of soup, and I'm not sure that it has rice in it, but it didn't sound like it really had, I don't know, it just sounded like a bunch of junk to me, which is fine and which is fun. Like, I'm a fan of Taco Bell too, y'all. But for this, feeding my family, I wanted something a little bit more substantial, so I just made some alterations by adding the rice, adding the black beans, using ground turkey. I'm not adding sour cream or cream of any kind of soup. We seasoned it with some salsa, which is loaded with like some veggies and stuff. But now we're going to top it with some Doritos, y'all. Of course, you could also add cheese in if you want to. My oldest son doesn't eat cheese, so I'm not adding any in here. I've kind of been shying away from it a little bit more lately just because it is just not, I don't know, it's not working out for me as well. And my husband's been trying to kind of move away from it a little bit as well. So I didn't add any, but feel free to add some if that is what you want to do. Cheese is delicious. I will not argue that. Anyway, back in the oven she goes for like another 20-25 minutes and your casserole is done. You can use as much or as little Doritos as you want. I use the nacho cheese flavor and I use the store brand because, you know, saving money. But you can use whatever flavor and whatever brand of your choice that your family likes. Have fun with it. All right, while that's baking, we're going to finish up our breakfast casserole. This one's so easy. I love throwing this casserole together just because it is so stinking simple. I did go ahead and spray some nonstick spray on this pan because potatoes love, love, love to stick in a casserole dish, and so do eggs. So I've just spread my hash brown potatoes across the bottom. They've developed some color, which is flavor, so yummy. And I'm going to throw some of that bacon on top, about half of it. Really, you want like a pack of bacon that you have cooked and crumbled, thrown on top of here. If you're doing sausage, just do the whole 1 pound roll. It's going to be beautiful. If you're doing chorizo, mix it in with the potatoes while you're cooking them, and they'll just kind of adhere together and soak up that beautiful flavor. So just kind of whichever direction you want. You could add in some sauteed veggies as well. I'm a huge fan of that, so is my oldest son, but my husband is not when it comes to eggs, so I skipped it. I just made sure that my bacon was nicely spread evenly all over the potatoes. And now I'm going to go ahead and do a whole dozen eggs. I am making a large casserole. There are 6 people currently living in my home. So I wanted a casserole that's going to feed a lot of people. I'm not eating it, but everyone else is. So I wanted to make sure there was plenty so everybody could have at least 1 slice. And I'm just going to pour the eggs right over the top. The bacon is pepper bacon and it's salty. I salted the potato, so I opted to not salt or pepper the eggs because of that. But you do you, whatever you and your family like. I like to just kind of pour them over the top, let them set for a minute so they can get down in all the nooks and crannies, and then I bake it at 350 until it's done. And that's it. There is our taco rice. That one was the winner. Everybody raved. Y'all, this was so good and so simple. And it was really like minuscule ingredients that don't cost a ton, but the flavor was wow. I mean, it was like a huge pop of flavor. So wonderful. I didn't show the baked potatoes. They're just baked potatoes. Do what you want with them. Top them with chili, sour cream, whatever it is your family likes. I did bacon bits and cheese on mine. My husband likes chili on his. And there's that breakfast casserole. You could always add cheese to that as well. Again, I did not, but you do you. And I didn't get a picture of the pasta because I forgot, but that one's always a winner. Anyway, this is what I meal prepped for my family this week. It was quick and easy and efficient and delicious, and it was very inexpensive because I just raided my pantry for the most part. Hope you guys liked it. Stick around because I have a Thanksgiving video coming up. Hope to see you there.